Hi everybody, this is Eric from Longbox Review at longboxreview.wordpress.com. I decided tonight, because it's tonight as I record this, because I haven't done this in a while too, haven't recorded any videos lately, sorry about that, as if you've been waiting anxiously to watch me talk about comics. But anyway, I decided tonight to talk about some comics from the month of May, just some highlights, kind of like I did last time, so it's sort of a mini highlighted pull list review, if you will. So I've got several comics to talk about tonight. First of which is Battlestar Galactica from Dynamite. This is #1. Look at that nice cover from Alex Ross. It's got some great likenesses of the original cast. You got Richard Hatch there at the top, Dirk Benedict, Lauren Green, and I don't know the actors who played Colonel Ty and Athena down there. Sorry. But there you go, and the Cylons. Gotta notice the Cylons there. There you go. The original Battlestar Galactica from based on the 1978 series. Battlestar Galactica was my second favorite sci-fi show for many, many years. It was kind of like my second fandom, if you will, after Star Trek. So I have a lot of love in my heart for the Battlestar Galactica concept. I absolutely loved that show for that first and only season, if you don't count Galactica 1980, and I do not, except for that Return of Starbuck episode, which was really good. But despite that, I absolutely loved the remake, the 2003 remake that Ron Moore did. That was on Sci-Fi. Well, except for the last season, that was kind of a bit too hokey even for me. But I really enjoyed the series overall. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So when I heard that Dynamite was launching a new Battlestar Galactica series, I had to try it. I had to see what was good, what it was going to be like, right? And then you find out who it's written by, and that's Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning. Abnett and Lanning, who are well known for their kind of like their cosmic space opera stuff at Marvel. They also had a good run on Legion of Superheroes for DC. So I thought, well, heck, I gotta try this out. And here it is, issue #1. This is illustrated by Cesar Razik, and I wanted to point that out because one of the things about licensed property comics that I always want to judge, I guess, is how well they render the likenesses of the actors. And I'm not saying that the art or the artist has to render them exactly as these characters appear or appeared in the original material, but enough so that you don't go, who is that? And there were some Battlestar Galactica comics back in the late 70s from Marvel Comics, and I got some of those as well back in the day. And the art was just all over the place, and it was partly the reason why I don't have a fondness for those comics, because I'd open it up and I'd read the comic, and in one panel Apollo looked like Richard Hatch to some degree, and then I'd turn the page and I couldn't even tell who that was. It was Apollo, because that's who they're talking to in the story, but it was as if the artist just gave up, I don't know, or just didn't know how to do Richard Hatch as Apollo from like a 3/4 view instead of a full-on facial view. So I don't know. I always want to see how well they do that. And the second thing that they have to do well in the comics, especially like the sci-fi properties like Star Trek, Star Wars, and all that, Battlestar Galactica, how well does the artist draw the ships? If you draw a sloppy Enterprise or a sloppy X-Wing or a sloppy Battlestar Galactica, Vipers especially, I love Vipers. I used to draw those like crazy when I was younger in art class. I think I did a Viper like every art project that I could. Anyway, and I draw them at home too. Oh, and side story, sorry, I made a Viper. This is before the toys came out. I made a Viper out of the tubing of paper towel tubing and 3 toilet paper tubing. And I taped that all together, or glued it together, I can't remember, along with, I cut out cardboards for the wings, and then I tried to color it as best I could. Anyway, I made a Viper out of toilet paper and paper towel tubing. That's how much I love the show. Okay, so that's the other thing I look for, is how well they draw the ships. So, how did Mr. Razik do on this particular task? I have to say quite well, for the most part. The characters resemble the actors pretty much, enough that it satisfies me. The ships are done very well. They look like the ships from the show. So, you know, A for effort on that. The Cylons look like the old Cylons do, which that's nice. And one last note on the ships before I move on this. There's these and spoilers if you haven't seen this, so, you know, avert your eyes and don't listen, I guess. I don't know. So there you go. There's these modified Vipers that are equipped with some sort of temporal weapon, and that's part of the plot of this. Those look really weird to me, and I won't say why or what I think they look like, but I just thought that was an odd choice. Anyway, so let's get back to the story. The story opens up with a dream sequence, essentially, that Adama is having, and within about 5 pages you get the basic plot of the pilot of Battlestar Galactica. You know, humans and Cylons have been warring for years. The Cylons sue for peace, but it turns out to be a ruse, and they attack the human colonies and decimate just about everybody except for the Galactica and the ragtag human fleet that Adama takes with him out into space, because they're going to go look for the 13th colony on a planet called Earth. I really want to play the theme song right now. It's interesting, this comic, you can see here, Adama, there you go. He's got a beard, which is reminiscent of Galactica 1980, where Lauren Green had that beard in that show. But Apollo and Starbuck are here, and the kid from Galactica 1980, what's his name? Z? Yeah, the young kid with blonde hair and glasses, you can see him right there, that's Z. He was the scientific genius that they had on that show. I only watched Galactica 1980 once all the way through when I was, it was 1980, that's when I watched it. I think I've seen snippets of the shows on Sci-Fi over the years, but I don't really remember much about it, other than I didn't like it as well, although I'll call them Viper bikes that they had, that was cool. All right. So there's elements of the original first season of Battlestar Galactica, first and only season, I don't know why I said first, and then elements of Galactica 1980. So it's an interesting blend, but as I said, I mentioned earlier, Z. So wait, I should back up. The Galactica gets ambushed by Cylons yet again, but Z decides that he should reinstate the temporal weapons that have been banned before by the colonies. And Adama, in being very desperate and trying to save his people, decides to sanction those weapons. So they've equipped. Z's already has already equipped 2 Vipers with these temporal weapons, and of course they pull their best pilots, Apollo and Starbuck, off the battle lines to fly those ships, and the idea is to zap these base stars, Cylon base stars, with these temporal weapons and blink them out of existence. Which Z says, the base stars will have been removed from time, and this attack will never have happened in the first place. Except it did. So, but I guess that's just timey-wimey stuff. Unfortunately, nothing goes to plan, and the temporal battery, that's sci-fi for you, overloads, and the Galactica
and presumably the fleet, because they don't really show the fleet here too, or maybe they've gone off. Anyway, Galactica disappears, and Apollo and Starbuck are left out in space, like I showed you in that one page. And there you go. That's Battlestar Galactica. Number 1, plot-wise, some of this, but I commented about the art and the likenesses and whatnot, and that's all fine. But what's really interesting is that, from a writing standpoint and a visual storytelling standpoint, is that you really have to know what Battlestar Galactica is, and the creators here, the creative team, I think, takes a lot of liberties in assuming how much you know about Battlestar Galactica. Because as I was rereading this for this review, there's a point where the Cylons are about to attack, and Starbuck gets into his Viper, and they're launching to go out into space and fight them. And there's this one panel shot of Starbuck here at the bottom in his lovely helmet, which also I made sort of out of cardboard and markers and crayons and tied it with the string so I could wear it. God, I wish I had pictures of those things. Anyway, Starbuck says, "Let's wrap this fast. I've got a game of Pyramid to finish." You know, and I was reading this, and it's like, you know, and I chuckled because, you know, that's Starbuck. That's how he is. But then I was thinking from the point of view of a first-time reader to this who may or may not have even heard of Battlestar Galactica. What would a first-time reader go, or what would their reaction be to this character who flippantly says something about a stupid card game when humanity's existence is in jeopardy? So if they're writing this for fans of the show like me, I guess that's okay. But I have to wonder, you know, what really their intent is here. So there were also some things like at the commemoration that Adama does. You know, they do this yearly type thing. Everybody's in the audience, and including Apollo. And then so Apollo and Adama and Starbuck are talking about how Apollo's brother Zach should be there, but he was killed in the original pilot, which incidentally was played by Rick Springfield, one of my favorite musicians and singers. Anyway, what would his career have been? How it would have been different if he had actually stayed on that show for that 1 year? I wonder. Let's see. Anyway, so they're talking about this, and all of a sudden these alarms go off. Starbuck says, "What the?" And there's this dialogue box coming out of Apollo saying, "Commander, bridge reports incoming Cylon attack." That just seems really weird that would come from Apollo. So either somehow Apollo has some sort of direct contact with the bridge, or he sees a readout that indicates this, but Adama's looking at it too in this shot. Here, let me show you. Yeah, right there. Oop. There we go. Or that dialogue box is supposed to be coming from somebody else, but it's clearly not. I don't know. It's just there's some weird things going on here story-wise. So, all right. So anyway, I enjoyed the issue. It's better than I expected, quite frankly, but I had some problems with it. I will continue with this, at least initially. I pre-order these things, so I'm in it for at least 3 issues before I decide, you know, what's going on here. I hear, based on the preview solicitations, that Starbuck and Apollo are having this wonderful mission in an alternate timeline. So I have to wonder, again, I'm wondering about the validity of the series, because understandably Apollo and Starbuck are the focus, or was the focus of the show for the most part. So it makes sense that they are the focus as well in the series, although you don't really get a whole lot of them in this first issue, so that's kind of weird to me. But focusing on them not within the BSG universe that has been set up already what's the payoff here? Where are we going? Why are we going this way? So I'm intrigued on one hand and also a bit trepidatious on the other. So, but again, lovely Alex Ross cover. All right, shifting gears to DC, and that'll be the majority of this. So if you don't like DC, I'm sorry. And also sorry for this, the Green Team, Teen Millionaires. Yeah, so this is the companion piece to the movement. I talked about that on a previous show, episode, whatever you want to call these videos. Anyway, this is by Art Baltazar, Franco. They're the writers. These are the guys behind Tiny Titans, if you remember that, and the forthcoming, what is it, Tiny Hellboy? I think that's what they're calling that. And art by Iguara. Hold on one second here. Let me get to the credits. I hate it when comics do this, where they don't put their credits consistently. It makes it hard when I'm referring to things like this. See, on the podcast, it's really easy because I don't have to be showing you things, so it's really easy for me to shuffle through things as I'm recording the podcast, and I can pause. I could do that here, I suppose, but then I have to edit it more. Anyway, you don't want to hear that. You want to hear about the Green Team. Iguara is the penciler, J.P. Meyer is the inker, Will Quintana is the colorist. So, that's the creative team. Like I said, this is the companion piece to the movement, and I have to say I liked the Green Team slightly better, maybe more than slightly better, now that I've reread it, than the movement. I've read a couple issues now of the movement, and I've already dropped that book. I'm getting one more issue because I pre-ordered it, but it's no good. Not good. This one, however, I liked it because we are introduced to this character Muhammad. He's a prince. Of course, that means there's a lot of money in his family. His father has expectations of him. He's trying to impress his father by doing what he's doing in the story. So I have a bit of a connection to this character. There's this point of view character, which I really like. I didn't get that at all in the movement, that I can recall anyway. So basically, he goes to this, what do they call this? A pop-up expo, or Poxpo, if you will. As one of the characters here says, stupid name, I know. He comes up with the stupidest names, but he thinks that they're the greatest ever. Poxpo, Green Team, blah blah blah. Anyway, it's this expo where people with these brilliant ideas and maybe things that aren't within the realms of good science, responsible science perhaps, come and try to get basically investors. And the one guy that everyone's here to see and to hear from is this guy called Commodore Murphy, and you can see him right there in the middle. He's called by his friends and fans, I guess, 64. Get it? And you're introduced to a bunch of characters in here, which, okay, there's this attraction between Muhammad and LL, who is the sister of the guy in the hat that I just showed you. And the guy in the hat, or as Muhammad and the guy in the hat are walking around looking at all these various technological wizardry, the guy in the hat, whose name I can't remember now, grabs Muhammad, Commodore 64, and is complaining to him about these discs that he found. So let me show you that. So, I was talking about storytelling before, that thing with Apollo in that dialogue box, right? The balloon. So let me show you this. So here's this panel. You see my finger pointing at it right there. I'm going to move that now. Okay, so 64 is reaching into his coat pocket for something, and you can't really see this here. I'm going to zoom in. See, right underneath his hand, it looks like these disc-like things, or they're discs. And then you got Cowboy in the background, right? Not even looking at Commodore. right? Okay, keep that in mind. And then a couple panels later, Cowboy grabs the guy, says, "What are you doing? I saw what else you had in your jacket pocket. Those discs." Okay. Even keeping in mind the gutter, there's no way this guy could have seen those discs in the position that he was in that one panel I showed you. And there's nothing else to suggest in the intervening panels that he could have seen the discs in the guy's pocket. So, sloppy storytelling, just a tad. I like the art. I like the art overall. It was interesting because I'm looking at the background. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on in the background. Scientists doing their thing. So I found that really interesting. I like that a lot. But then there are panels where basically there's just a wash of color for the background. And sometimes that works, and sometimes I think that's just being lazy. I shouldn't say that because I'm not an artist. I don't know what goes into this stuff. So, you know. And I can see where you'd want the focus on the talking heads, if you will, as opposed to what's going on in the background. So, you know, I see that from a cinematic standpoint. You would want that kind of difference in you know, between panel to panel. So perhaps my complaint is really unfounded. But the issue ends basically. Mohammed has been uploading pictures of this expo, which is a bad idea apparently because people, this cult, the guy in the hat, Mr. Texas, I'll call him because I'm not going to look up his name right now. He comments how this cult has been after the Commodore. And because of the uploading and the GPS tracking and whatnot that Mohammed inadvertently has done, what he has inadvertently done has left a calling card for this cult to show up. And that's this guy right there in the interesting looking mask. I swear I've seen this look before somewhere. I just can't place it. Anyway, there's a little fight, and the guy is more powerful than just, you know, a guy in... I mean, he looks kind of skinny in here, right? So you don't think he's that strong, but he apparently is. Commodore puts on the disc, and oh look, he's become a mecha superhero, or a Iron Man-like thing. So they fight, but then oh look, here's the twist at the end. There's more of the guys in the freaky mask. So there's your cult. Alright. So if you can't tell by my tone, I'm not that impressed with this book either, although I don't dislike it as much as the movement. So enough about that. Alright. We go from one green comic to another. Green Lantern number 20. Wrath of the First Lantern, the epic finale. This is the oversized $7.99. $8 for this thing. Last issue written by Jeff Johns and illustrated by Doug Monkey. Let's see here. Boy, you know, this is look how thick that is. Whoa, there we go. Now you probably can't even see that very well. There we go. Look at all those pages. So I don't know if I can even find the credits page offhand here. Oh, there it is. Second page. Doug Monkey penciled most of it. And oh my god, all the inkers. I'm at, wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 inkers on this thing. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guest artists. 2 colorists. 1 letterer. Wow, a lot of people on this. And that's fine, you know, it's kind of like an anniversary type thing. It's a big to-do. I'll get to that in a second. Okay, so I've loved Green Lantern since Jeff Johns rebooted it in Green Lantern Rebirth. I was going to say Recharge for some reason. Green Lantern Rebirth. And I've been following that title pretty much since day one. There was a bit where I dropped it for a while, but I went back and I got all the issues. I've read them all. I've loved, even through the New 52 relaunch, I've loved
the series, especially since the relaunch, the focus on Sinestro. And then as time went along, it became more or less kind of like, sort of like a buddy cop film, in the sense that, you know, you have kind of like the crazy, doesn't follow rules guy, and then you have the guy who's, you know, all about the order and everything. And interestingly enough, Sinestro plays the order guy, and Hal's kind of portrayed as the loose cannon. It's kind of like Lethal Weapon in a way. Lethal Weapon in Green Lantern universe, so sort of. Anyway, this whole Wrath of the First Lantern storyline, I have to say, is probably one of the weaker storylines that Geoff Johns has put into the Green Lantern book. But it was a nice payoff in that what happens here, essentially, is that, okay, one, because of events that leading up to this, Korrigar has been destroyed by Volthoom, I think, the First Lantern. And Sinestro, of course, goes off the deep end a little bit, and he becomes the Sinestro Yellow Lantern that we all love. Of course, what else is going to happen? They defeat Volthoom in the end. Actually, Hal does that. Hal becomes a Black Lantern. So how many does that make him? He's been obviously a Green Lantern during the Blackest Night stuff, and I think stuff leading up. I think he's been a Yellow Lantern, Red Lantern, or am I getting him confused with Guy? Blue, Black Lantern now. I don't know how many lanterns. He's been a lot of lanterns. A lot of rainbow in Hal Jordan's makeup. But there's this great dichotomy, if you will. Hal basically takes on Necron, who is the avatar, if you will, of, I see that, if you will, a lot, sorry, avatar of the Black Lantern of Death, and Sinestro takes control of Parallax, the avatar of Fear. So you got that interesting dichotomy there. But anyway, Hal comes back, is controlling Necron, and ends up defeating Volthoom. Well, that allows Sinestro to go after the Guardians, whom he blames for Korrigar's destruction. And I have to say, I kind of agree with him. And he goes on a killing spree. So, interesting in the sense that the Guardians, who have been long the stalwarts of what the Green Lantern Corps is about, Geoff Johns has been setting them up over the last, 2 or 3 years at least. They are the bad guys of the story, really. And so they kind of get their just reward, if you're coming from Sinestro's perspective anyway. And which leaves Hal the ersatz leader of the Green Lantern Corps, which I find very interesting. I'm not sure how long that will last in the continuity, but we'll see. But the payoff here is the talk between Hal and Sinestro at the end, after Sinestro's done his bit and Hal has become a Green Lantern once again and banished Necron to his otherworldly realm. Excuse me. And they had this talk. There was a time where the two were on Yzmalt, and they both thought they were going to die, and Hal wanted to ask Sinestro a question, but he never did, and so Sinestro wants to know what that was. And Hal, without hesitating, asks him, or tells him, "Were we ever truly friends?" And Sinestro, and this is what gets me. Sinestro responds with, "That's the tragedy of all this, Jordan. Hal. We'll always be friends." And with that, Sinestro vanishes, and he goes off into, apparently to never return again, into deep space. So I wonder how long that's going to last. Sinestro will be back, I am sure. You can't have Green Lantern without Sinestro. For too long, anyway. And then there's this great story where a Green Lantern of the future is talking to a librarian of sorts in a hood,
And it's the Book of Oa. They're talking about that and how the Green Lantern Corps owes everything to Hal Jordan, and you get kind of a in the future, this is what happens to the main players of the Green Lantern universe. You get Guy Gardner's off in space, still doing what Guy does. You have John Stewart, who becomes a state senator, and he's into politics and helping people that way. And then you have Kyle, who is off in space, helping people and bringing life where there is none before it says his light went out. And then you have the latest Green Lantern. Oh boy, what's his name? Simon Baz, and what they show a little bit of what he does there. Although there's not a lot there because I think that's where they're going to shift things Green Lantern wise, perhaps towards. Or at least not close off that chapter because there could be more to this character coming. You also get a panel each on the various other cores, the color cores, the red, Larfleeze, the Blue Lanterns, and the Indigo tribe as well. So, and then you get Hal Jordan marrying Carol. They have a son. The rings that they wear are their Green Lantern and Star Sapphire ring. Aw, that's so cute. And then we go back to the present essentially, and you find out that Sinestro didn't kill quite all of the Guardians. He spared Ganthet's life, and then he is.
You need to stay down here.
There you go. That was my granddaughter. Let's see here. Where was I? Oh, Ganthet is reunited with his love, Said? I'm not sure how it's S-A-Y-D. I never know how to pronounce that name. I like to say Said, but I think it's Said. So, he's not so bad, Sinestro. And there you go. That's pretty much the story. But what was interesting too about this, so this is Jeff Johns. He's had this fantastic run since about 2005. It's now 2013 on Green Lantern. He made Green Lantern big. Dan DiDio, all those years ago, challenged Jeff Johns because he thought that Green Lantern should be part of the Big Four. There should be what's the 4 version of Trinity? I'm not going to try. I was going to make something up. Anyway, so I think Jeff Johns did that to a very big point, or to a very large part. I believe he did do that. So there's all these congratulations, Jeff Johns pages here. Whoop, like that. You can't even read that, but so there's Kyle in there that's in the white, and then there we go. It's all in the different lanterns colors. So there's the blue one, and it's all these creators and artists, writers, even people from across the aisle, if you will, in here. I think, or maybe it's just all DC people. I thought I saw somebody else in here, like I thought I saw. I'm wasting your time right now. I don't know. I can't. I thought I saw like Michael Bendis in one of these. Maybe I'm just dreaming. Anyway, so I thought that was really interesting. I don't know that. It was an epic run, but does it deserve that kind of accolade within the context of this book? Of this, I guess I had to fill the pages. It's $8, so gotta give us something. I don't know. On the one hand, it's a nice touch. On the other, I'm like, really? It's a bit self-aggrandizing. So, I don't know. Anyway, that's Green Lantern 20 for you. Let's move on to something a little more fun. Well, maybe. Adventures of Superman #1, the digital first comic that is now in print. 3 different stories in here. This is great fun. It may not be to the level of Legends of the Dark Knight, because I read that first issue and I was just wowed by it. I was like, this is the Batman comic to read. I will say that this is probably the Superman comic to read right now, anyway, because I haven't been too pleased with Superman in Action Comics lately since Grant Morrison left, and Superman has been a mixed bag since day one. But you get these 3 stories. I've enjoyed it. I love Superman. I love Superman. He's probably one of my very favorite characters in DC. I know there's a lot of detractors out there. Batman's cool and all that stuff, but I just really love Superman. And so you get 3 stories, like I said. The first one is by Jeff Parker's the writer, Chris Samney the artist, which is nice to see Chris Samney doing DC stuff. And it's a nice little story about a guy who has these force field telekinetic type powers. He's being very destructive, and Superman's trying to help him. Turns out that Lex Luthor's behind it, so you get that old nugget. Which, you know, that was an okay story. I liked it enough. And then you get this little story here by Jeff Lemire, I believe. Hold on a second. Jeff Lemire doing arting, doing the art and the colors, with some assist on the colors as well by Jose Villarrubia, Wes Abbott the letterer. Yeah. So you get this nice little tale where these 2 kids are playing Superman, and one's Superman and one gets to be the villain, and then so it alternates between. You can see that here. So there's the kids at the top part of the page talking, and at the bottom page, sorry about that. There they are, cosplaying, sort of pretending. That's not cosplaying. They're not cosplaying. Well, sort of. One has a cape on. So you get that, and they keep changing because I don't want to be that villain anymore. And so you get this nice little one page here where Luthor, and then the Parasite, and then Zod, and then Mxyzptlk. So that was cool. And then they're fighting, and then they stop. One guy, here we go. This is great. Brainiac yawning. Never going to see that anywhere else. And then they're like, I'm done. Let's go get some pizza. And then you get this nice page here where you keep pulling back, and oh wait, somebody's watching them. How creepy. Well, it's Superman. He's overheard them. He's visiting the area, I guess. He's on this barn, and he's got this look. He's got a slight smile. They're playing him. It was cute. And then you have a Bizarro story. And who is that by? He says Justin Jordan, writer. Riley Rosmo is the artist. Wes Abbott letters. It's the typical. Superman has to figure out how to talk to Bizarro to convince him not to do the destructive things he's doing, and ends up getting Bizarro to help him out. Not my favorite story in here, although I really like the art. It's kind of who's the Chris Burnham-esque in a way, I think. Anyway, I'm thinking of somebody else. Who did All-Star Superman? Why can't I think of that name? That's who I'm thinking of. Let's see here. So that was okay. I liked it. I'm looking forward to additional issues of Adventures of Superman. So there you go. Another DC comic. Earth 2 Annual #1. Look, it's the new Batman. As promised by James Robinson in various podcasts that I listen to where he's talking about the stuff. The majority of this, though, is a story about Al Pratt, the Atom on Earth 2. And I have to say, I've never liked Al Pratt. I've never liked the Earth 2 Atom, except for one aspect. And I wish I had a picture of this. I should have grabbed something to show you. But basically, it has a blue full head face mask. Not even eye holes or anything. It's just this blue covering with a blue cape going off of it, and then he has the rest of his suit. But for some reason, I really like that image of this character called the Atom because he was small, short guy, but no face and really no powers to speak of. He was just this masked hero who went around punching guys. He later got powers, but so anyway, I've never been a fan of Al Pratt. I haven't really liked him all that much in Earth 2, for that matter, until the story, because we get a bit of his backstory, we get a bit of character development, and so that was nice little tale, I guess. A little too much time being spent on this particular story, I think, until there's this fight between Adam and this guy, the guy in a mecha, destroying the streets of, I can't remember where they're at, someplace. And then Batman shows up. And it's a Batman that's in black and red, reminiscent of the Batman from Flashpoint from a couple years ago. So that's interesting. I wonder if how intentional that is. I have to presume it's intentional. With red eyes and the red bat on his chest and a red utility belt. But here's the thing. Everyone's wondering who is this new Batman, and why do we even need a new Batman in Earth 2? Because that was the one thing I liked about Earth 2. I'm paraphrasing here. They got rid of the Trinity, and it's now these other heroes that focuses on them. So anyway, I don't really care. I'm intrigued by who Batman may be in this universe. I don't think it really matters in the end. But see, where's that darn page? I'm looking for something. Sorry here. Where Batman shows up. He's the first. It's like this big splash page. Here we go. 2-page spread. Dun da da da. Okay, so you see his arm, and looks like a little explosive going at it, and you see those spheres going out there. Yeah, Batman shoots balls, exploding balls. Let's just try to say that without laughing. Which interesting, I guess. He presumably kills Mr. Icicle in here with those exploding balls. Where's Dr. Wortham when you need him? Okay, so that's it. That's pretty much it. It's interesting. It's developing the Earth 2 universe a little bit more. There's an intrigue, the new Batman, blah 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 blah. Side story. So the little balls shooting other. Okay, so when I was younger, and Mr. Oddfellow Travis can attest to this, we would make up our own superheroes, and we would. I'm outing you, Travis. Sorry. We would make up our superheroes and then go outside and play these superheroes. So like that story with Superman and Adventures of Superman with those two kids. We would do that, but we weren't content playing the characters that we already knew and read in the comics. We would go out and play our own, like I said. And so one of the characters I came up with was a guy called Spectre, and his thing was he had this thing on his wrist where he shot these. I called them spheres because my friends, I won't say it's necessarily Travis, because I can't remember if it was him or not, but we had a group of friends that we did this when we were younger, would tease me mercilessly because I was shooting balls out of my hands. This character that I created, yeah. So here we are, flash forward 25, 30 years, and here's Batman of Earth 2 doing exactly what I played in my yard. Okay, last one. The Wake, #1 by Scott Snyder and Sean Murphy. And who else is part of this adventure? Here we go. Colors by Matt Hollingsworth, letters by Jared Fletcher. Okay, so The Wake starts off with a future-looking dystopia with this gal and her decked-out dolphin. Look at that. And then there's this flood coming in, and she escapes, and then we go 200 years to the past, presumably our present, with what's her name, Dr. Archer, I believe, who's out in some sort of, it's a harbor, Gig Harbor, Washington. So given that I'm northern Idaho. I need to go look this up. Presume it's real. I don't know. Nice shot here of her in a little boat with a whale underneath. She's waiting for that. Anyway, this guy here shows up. Agent Cruz from the Department of Homeland Security, wanting to recruit her for this special thing. He tells her one thing. There's this group of other scientists. Oh, she's a what is it, a cytologist? So she studies ocean life, I presume. Anyway, her specialty is whale songs. So Agent Cruz has this recording that was made in Prudhoe, Alaska, by a facility there, and they want her to come and investigate and figure out what this is, because there's something special about it. And she's heard it before, although she denies it, which I think Agent Cruz knows already. Anyway, goes out there, meets some interesting characters. Dr. Marin, a professor of folklore and mythology from Brown University. Dr. Archer and this guy has a moment because she's read his book. He comes across as charming, not egotistical, which I really like that. I hate it when academics are always portrayed like I'm the be all and end all of everything, and you're so stupid. And then there's this guy called Meeks. He's a bit antisocial and kind of weird. So there you go. You get that stereotype going. And it turns out Cruz hasn't been completely honest with any of these people. And they go off to investigate this oil rig that's at the bottom of the ocean in Alaska. Which, that was interesting. There's this thing that goes on. I won't... Oh. And Dr. Archer finds an alien. And then goes even further into the past, 100,000 years in the past, and you see this caveman drawing on the wall, and these cave paintings of what looks like this alien. So there you go. That begins the wake. I really enjoyed this. I'm, as Travis will often tease me about, I'm not the biggest Scott Snyder fan. I haven't been the biggest Scott Snyder fan. I've really enjoyed his work on Batman. So I kind of went into this thinking, well, it's probably not going to be as good as that. But I really enjoyed this. I think part of it has to do with Mr. Murphy's art, which is Fiona Staples-esque, I think, in here, just a little bit. And somebody else who I can't place. But I like the visual storytelling. I like the premise. I like the main character, Dr. Archer. She's got this kid. They have this strange relationship, which is how Cruz actually gets her involved, because he can help her get her kid back. So you got that. Something about whales, and I find it interesting, and the whale song and all that stuff. So yeah, I really like this. I'm glad I'm picking this up. But plus, it's a limited series, so there's not a lot of investment, a long-term investment in it. So yeah, 1 of 10. So perhaps you should pick this up. It probably will read really well in trade, though, if you want to wait for it. So, all right, that's it. That's all the comics from May that I wanted to talk about. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about these titles and my opinions of them if you'd like. Leave comments. You can also email me at longboxreview@gmail.com. And go read some comics. Have some fun. I'm going to go on vacation now, so I'll be away from the interwebs for a while. Recharging, if you will. All right, that's it. Bye.